Hello, people. My name is Rashana Hydes, and I am here with Jordan Rivers, and we are on World Talk, where we're going to have a great discussion on all things politics in Cayman, the issues, all the stuffs, and we're going to have a good time today. So, hi, Jordan.
Hello.
How are you doing? How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's Christmas time.
Yeah.
It's very busy, but having a good life.
I love it. I love it. I actually was moving during the holidays, so highly do not recommend.
No.
Pro tip, do not move houses during the holidays if you can avoid it. I am tired and I'm ready for 2025 to officially kick off. It's going to be a wonderful, productive year. Fingers crossed. I'm very hopeful. Lots of interesting things happening in the political sphere.
Plenty.
So for those who don't know you, can you give us a little introduction on yourself, how you got into politics, who you are in the community? And I will let you have the floor.
All right. I'll try my best to answer that. So my name is Jordan Rivers. I'm a proud 27-year-old Caymanian. I come from the district of West Bay, a son of the soil of that district, and happily so. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Oh,
Love
right.
the country, but West Bay is heart. I have been in the community for years now, right? Anyone in West Bay knows my family. Paul and Chelsea Rivers, we've done a lot. We've just been around doing our thing. And we keep it rolling. I work with my family. We take care of our animals, as you all know, because sometimes we end up on Mall Road for a cow or two, But that's always a good thing.
Yes.
It's never for anything bad. It's for an escaped animal. It's fine. We'll come and wrangle them, But that's a little bit about myself. I'm just here. And you did ask me about politics. My introduction to politics started when I was about 11, when my father first ran. And what was really cool about it is that sitting there listening to him and being a part of that, I could actually understand that at 11 years old where they were going. And just much like a bug, it just kind of stuck. And the fact that I work with my father and manage his company does not help. I'm everywhere with him doing everything. So you get to see a lot of what actually happens throughout the district and what plays and what's coming up next. And politics is very much a part of our life. That's the best way to put it. We tend to put that ahead of a lot of other things, but we're just with it.
Yeah.
We're just with it.
Yeah. So tell us about the company that you help to manage.
Ooh, this is a shameless plug, ain't it?
Yes.
Love it. Get your tours with us here, all right?
I'm going to big up the local entrepreneurs, so.
This is what we call West Bay love, So we own a company called Spirit of the West. We provide horseback riding tours on the beautiful Barker's Beach. Internationally acclaimed company, registered, everything, you name it. You can look us up on TripAdvisor, look at the reviews. When you're ready to come do a tour with us, give me a call, 916-6488. And that's enough of that shameless plug.
I know that's right. Listen, one thing I'm going to do is big up local entrepreneurs because small businesses in the Cayman Islands are the lifeblood of our economy.
Correct.
That is what our ancestors literally did.
Correct.
They were small entrepreneurs, small business owners doing their thing in the community. And that's how we became this giant powerhouse of a financial sector in the Caribbean.
Yeah.
But it started
started everything.
It just started on the ground in the grassroots. So I love that. So I'm going to always give space for that.
West Bay is where tourism really has a home.
Period.
I'm going to be a bit selfish about that one because we can agree.
Well, listen, you don't got to tell me because me and West Bay is like
locked in.
Locked in. Like I born and raised there.
Stringbearer.
I never lived nowhere else.
Facts.
Sorry, I don't think I will either. But anyway, moving on.
Yes, ma'am.
We are aware that you are going to be entering politics.
Correct.
And I'm sure everybody wants to know, why are you running for political office?
That's a question?
Yes.
All right. Just want to make sure that was the full question. So, funny enough here, and I'll be a little bit revealing for myself. Did a little bit of prep in terms of notes and stuff before coming on, but I've never worked off of that. I'm just going to speak from the heart because we've kind of reached a stage now where people deserve more honesty than just something prepared. Like I said earlier, my introduction to politics started with my father and my mother when my father ran both times. And it just kind of grew up into it. It's something I always wanted to do. But just like everyone else here now, especially in our age bracket, you sometimes feel like you're a bit too young for it, or you're just getting into it, or you don't know enough. It's never that at all. It's just about your level of participation. I have been extremely fortunate that I've got, at this point, we're talking, 15 years participation in this on various levels. It's just kind of come naturally. We've always planned for it, but I have hit my own fair share of stages where I'm just like, I don't even want to do this, man. Like the almost defeatist mentality with this, because it's like you see where the country's heading and you feel like you're getting shoved out. But thankfully, I've got very good, strong, supportive parents. They've always pushed me to keep on doing the right thing as much as possible and to keep on persevering. And this is part of them is why I do want to get into this, because I've realized that our generation does not have a voice there. We are being excluded from everything, and it's gotten to a point where we can't even buy a house. Our parents can do that kind of stuff. The cost of living is constantly going up. Yeah. Right? It is time now for a new generation of leaders. New thought process, new vision, new everything. We've just reached that stage in our society where the same things we've been doing, and as they would say, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a new result. I'm here to bring a new result and to represent what is going to be Cayman's version of the forgotten generation. Yeah. Right? The ones coming after us, they have even less of a chance than we do right now. Right? They may have years ahead of them, whereas we've lost those. But that means nothing if they don't have at the very least, the financial means to keep up. Cayman is not taking care of its next set, and that has been a core value as to why I've decided to throw my hat in the ring this time around. I wanted to do it the last time, but I took very good counsel. And they said to me, Jordan, you've been doing this a while, but take this opportunity now that you're really fired up for it and go and be on platforms, go advocate for people, be in the community, learn it from that perspective first before you jump headfirst into it. And that's kind of what you see lacking with leaders, is that they're not listening to good counsel, possibly selfish counsel. So I did it, and it was the best decision of my life, and I didn't do it to look for government favors for potential ministerial candidates or anything. I did it because it was the right thing to do. My life kept on going on, and what happened is that even though I had been doing this for so long, things change. Like, we have a very short span of time in between 4 years that we actually get things productively done, and then things fall off to the wayside or they get swept somewhere else, and we tend to forget. What that allowed me to do was that allowed me to go and join things like the National Trust Council and learn more about the things that I'm passionate about, deal with government on a more one-on-one level, and it's really helped to shape me and round me and prepare me for the role that I'm seeking to take, which is a leader of the country. And I don't say that just as a job title, but I mean, this decision weighs heavy on me because it's what freedoms I would have. You're now going from being just a regular civilian, doing whatever you want, making your money, being able to gallivant, to what we would hope that a politician is, which is a person that actually does their job. Yeah. Right? And I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a servant of the people, something that actually stands for what's right. But yeah, sorry, that was a bit long.
No, that's great. I love it because it just shows people who you are and sort of the values that you stand behind, and like just gives context to your experience. So I love a little rambling. So for those who may not know, where are you declaring candidacy? What district in West Bay?
In West Bay North.
Okay.
West Bay North.
Okay. So just for clarity and context, you are going to be running against my uncle.
Hope that's not a problem.
No, because as we were talking about before we actually got started, to me, it's important that we just have these conversations in general. And I'm able to look at the big picture of things. I'm able to look at the future of Cayman for what it is, and that it has to be about more than just our loyalties, our like what we think should happen. You know what I mean? So I like that you're actually engaged and that you want to be a part of this, because I think more candidates in our age bracket, because I'm 28, so that kind of younger millennial / older Gen Z bracket is really missing representation in the House. So I think it's a good thing overall. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how things play out.
I'm glad you're very open to having balanced, neutral discussion.
That's exactly what we need more of, because that's the problem now, is that we're so polarized in how we think about things, and it has to be this way or the next way, or you have to be on this camp, or you can't have discussions with this camp. Like, we just have to get over it at this point. I'm so sorry, guys. Please, we need to put egos aside, because 7 Mile Beach is dying. Okay, no, it is serious in here. Like, we've got to do better. So
I agree. I think people either conflate or misconstrue the difference between familial loyalty and blind loyalty, and that's what they need to move away from. Just because, like, my fam is all in West Bay. I can tell you that straight up. Do I expect them to vote for me because I'm their relative? No. Like, I've had several relatives I've never voted for, straight up. I'll be honest with that with anybody, but that's the kind of house I was raised in. You don't
principled view.
You don't you don't vote on loyalty. You vote on policy.
Right.
You vote on what they're bringing. And if they don't bring that, right, then you hold them accountable for that. That's what people like my father and my mother have been doing for decades now.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's to kind of give a little bit more intimate insight into my household, because specifically my father, everyone knows my dad in West Bay, and they can have one view about him.
Spill the tea.
Right? I know. Right? They can have one view about him in the positive or the negative, or however they want to view it. I can tell you, the Paul that you are getting out there might be a little bit older, a little bit more grumpier, but he's a straight shooter. And that's the kind of household I was raised in. I did not have the ability to be less accountable, because a lot of the times animals depended on me. Right? So if I messed up, and I can tell you, just like everyone else, I have messed up growing up. That's how you learn. You don't try and aim for perfect. Well, you aim for perfect every time. But just because you don't hit it didn't mean you didn't get a valuable lesson off of it. Right? And one thing I can tell you, by dealing with livestock constantly, they depend on you. It creates a regimen of things you got to do. I don't get days off. I got to kind of rip them away from them, especially having a girlfriend now. You know, that was a massive juggle for me. But now we've worked the kinks out and we've got things rolling. So it's like, I've come from a household that what we're talking about is, doesn't matter if you're my son or my wife or anything, you do the right thing always.
That's it.
You know?
That's really it, because that's how I was raised as well. So I feel like we really get each other on that level, because just like you said, familial loyalty and blind loyalty. Blind loyalty, you will not be catching Miss Rashana Hydes being blindly loyal to anybody.
Good.
Because ultimately, I want to do what's best for my country. And that's why we're having these discussions. That's why I am involved in politics in this way, because I need people to understand this is serious. Like, this is bigger than just my life. Like, 5 generations later, you know, what's going to be said about what we did right now in this time? What did 2025 young people in the Cayman Islands do to actually make change and actually be involved in the direction that their country is going in?
Right now, most of us are accountable to no one. But in a couple of years, we're going to be accountable to our children and why they're suffering. Right? And I'm not saying that we're always going to get it right, but at least I can say with my chest out proudly to my son or daughter, I did the best I could for the time that it was. And trust me, we tried. And I think about that sometimes, man. Like, I'm not trying to have kids anytime soon, but it's, what do I want to see for them? Where are they going to be? If I'm having this much of a difficult time, and I fortunately have it a little bit better than other people, are they going to have it the same way? Would the work that I have done create a large enough gap for them to actually be able to come up and do something productive? The whole point is, people forget that, and granted, some people have kids just to have kids, but you're trying to instill succession planning, generational wealth. You don't want the people that come after you to suffer as much as you did. Right? Sometimes that creates more problems than it does benefits, but that's always the best intent, is to help the next generation come forward a little bit easier than you did. That's what our forefathers did for years. They did all the hard labor, battling through mosquitoes. They thought ahead
a lot.
A lot, man.
A lot of our ancestors were very smart. And they actually did things that were with their children and their grandchildren and their line of succession. They did stuff with that in mind, and that's what we need to get back to.
I'll tell you something real quick. If you look, now let's exclude the merchant class here, right? But if you look at some of the most successful persons in Cayman that are Caymanians, right? Generational Caymanians. A lot of that success came from how closely they worked with their family, with their parents. They were taught all the hard... Think about it. If we're thinking they were getting taught hard things now, imagine how much harder things they were taught back then, right? And it trickles on down, and that builds a drive in persons that you just don't see now in an age where we're distracted by technology constantly.
Yeah.
You know, this whole room is filled with it. You know, it's right in our pocket. They had time to instill real fundamental values in their children, and that made them as successful as they are now, you know?
Yeah. All right. So we're going to pivot a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of the issues that we are seeing in Cayman, but also in West Bay, because that's what we know, right? So specifically, what have you seen throughout your experiences doing the company, speaking to people? Obviously, you're involved in this type of public life, essentially. What are the things that you're seeing in West Bay, but also in Cayman in general? What are the key issues that you've seen, and what do you want to tackle? What do you see yourself tackling? I guess maybe the first 3 things you want to tackle first, should you be elected.
Working on the cost of living, making sure that Caymans have opportunities to purchase houses, because that's a generational thing now. Doesn't matter if it's our age or older, especially younger. No one can afford a house. The country's no longer being marketed to its own people. And that's a tragedy in our part. We're not even taking care of our own. We've seen a mass amount of development happen in this country. And what you've seen happen because of that is that the Cayman class, the middle class even as well, are being shoved out. So what you're going to have is poverty and abstract wealth. There's not going to be a middle ground. And in any successful country, the middle class is your backbone. If you cannot create that field for entrepreneurs, you have no country. So those 2 things, and then ensuring that we have stronger environmental protections. And I'm not talking willy-nilly stuff. This is coming from a person that, as we were talking earlier, I'm both a capitalist and an environmentalist because my business is the environment. So you can do both, but I'm not a zealot for it. I understand there needs to be measured sacrifices. Right? That's with anything that we do in life. But we've seen such an abundance of overdevelopment that we need to draw that back a little bit. We need to approach it differently.
We need to tighten them reins a little bit, guys. Just
like my horse, you understand?
Just pull running, back and slow down. Running a little loose and goosey right now, right? You know?
But it's a measured approach.
Yeah.
We have not had measured approaches. We've had selfish approaches, unfortunately. And this is where as a result of those types of approaches, this is where we've reached in a country in 2025, just about, to where your people are unhappy, your economy may be booming in certain locations, but where it really counts, you're not seeing the homegrown... The everyday person. Exactly, the homegrown development.
Yeah.
You can't... Much like we can't pave ourselves out of a roadblock, or a traffic jam, we cannot keep on importing people into the country to boost your numbers up. You can't. Think about it this way. We have our established wealth class, both local and foreign, right? You have your middle class, both local and foreign. And you're not really going to see a poor class only in domestic, because if you can't maintain yourself here, you're not going to have a work permit. So you see what happens now, right? What do you think happens? And we've seen it. Look at places right across there from Cost You Less. That was your more bougie upper class area. Those persons now, for whatever reason, not all of them, have been knocked down a bracket now, because new wealth, more magnanimous wealth, have come into the country and bought everything and priced them out, right? So now your old wealth class is now your new middle class.
Right.
So what happens to your old middle class? They become your new poor class.
Right.
And that's where you're going to see. By that point now, everyone's in the same boat.
Like, yo, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Because...
But if you're having that in a country where all what you're doing is relying on new money to keep on coming in, you're not having any development of your people, no meaningful development.
Ooh.
It's going to get hot and heavy.
Lord have mercy. I love it. No, but that's what we're here to talk about, right? Because ultimately, things are heavy. It's going to be big topics. They're complex. They're hard to talk about. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of moving parts, a lot of different people involved, different special interest groups involved. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to be heavy, but we just have to, right? We have to have these conversations. And so how do you see yourself being a part of the solution to these issues? And I don't know if maybe you want to discuss your affiliations and how that would assist you going into the House should you be elected. Yeah. Maybe that could provide some context.
We'll kind of hit it twofold. What we've seen is that the wheelhouse that is government, it kind of moves in whatever direction that the politicians make it move in, right? And they're the legislators, so the rules is how everything moves, right? The core of any functioning government is its civil service. But what you've seen happen over the years, it's a coliseum, man. It's a bloodbath, and especially on the higher levels. I will, without calling names, I will tell you that there's a lot of senior civil servants that just need to, retire. They come from a certain class.
Period.
Careful now. They come from a certain class where they're either with the program or they're not. Right? We've seen over the years, especially, and you can fact check me if you want. You guys know me already. So
he said, "I'm spitting facts."
No, I'm look here. Just because facts are not documented does not make them any less facts.
True.
You want to know why people don't attack certain people? Because they know that they know the truth.
Yeah.
They know the history. And that is the most powerful tool. When you know what happens behind the scenes.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. And the older I get, the more valuable that is to me. So I sit there and I absorb a lot. The more you know, the less likely someone is to come after you, because they can challenge you. They'll come and try and blast you in the court of public opinion. But trust me, that don't last too long. We've seen that very recently. The issue is that there's a lot of instances where civil servants become the scapegoat for it, right? And that's just to either get politicians or senior civil servants out of the firing line. That has to stop. If you can't have leaders at the top dictating, use that very loosely.
Delegating
and instructing. Thank you for that. Love that assist, right? Tell you, West Bay is the greatest district, right? Delegating and assisting on every other level below them. Get out the way, because all you're doing is much like a negligent parent. You're teaching your child bad habits, and they're going to grow up doing the same thing, and then the cycle repeats. So government has a plethora of individuals that are extremely intelligent. We have, for the most part, everything we need here, and we government literally spends millions of dollars sending kids off to get educated.
Yeah.
To bring them back, and then they don't put them in position that they sent them off for. So what? You've paid all this money and an investment, and then you're not collecting your ROI?
Hello.
Like, that's pointless.
What kind of investors are you? No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'll tell you what a gentleman told me the other day, and I laugh every time I hear this. If government was in the business of making money, it would not be in business, right? It's a simple fact. We waste a lot of money.
Yeah.
We genuinely waste a lot of money. We can talk about how you spend $50 million.
Specifically the last 4 years, my understanding is that the budget and the spending has been astronomical.
A lot of those people aren't going to be in power anymore, you see. So you get what you can get out of it. There's a storm coming, guys.
We spilling the tea out here. I'm loving it.
But sorry, to get back onto the topic.
The issues and the solutions.
I know. We'll keep doing this throughout.
Yes.
The government has everything it needs. It has a very capable and competent civil service. It just has to stop being corrupted, right? The group that I am affiliated with, and we'll dance around that for a little bit till later on, we're talking about individuals that come from a wide and very ranging backgrounds, from someone that deals in tourism to some of the biggest people in Cayman, right? It has been strategically organized to be the largest catch net for this country, because at the core of that, all those persons want the same thing, to do what is best for Cayman and its citizens, because they've seen on every level, and this shows you how far this stretches, on every level, they have seen where the poor decisions that have been made over the last 40 years.
Yeah, right? Because it's not just the last 4.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Let's be so for real. These problems have been brewing from pretty much time immemorial.
This is another reason why I wanted to run. We are our generation is now dealing with problems that are much older than us.
Yep.
Things that should have been sorted have not been. So that shows you that, and we can name the players that have been inside of this since back then.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're there or not there,
Mm-hmm.
does that not tell you something? You cannot have problems sorted by the same persons that created those problems.
Ooh.
You need to breathe new life into this.
Oh, Lord.
And this is what's coming in 2025. I'm not telling you that every candidate across the board is going to be that is going to be that breath of fresh air. I can tell you that based on how my family operates and the decisions that we go through and the process that we follow, whether we get it right or wrong, we always have the country's best interests at heart. And we've aligned ourselves with people that have that shared value.
Okay.
And that's that at the core of it. We're talking about people that just want the best for Cayman.
Yeah.
Right? And everyone under the sun can tell you that exact same statement.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the funny part. The majority of the incumbents have had 12 or more years to show that.
Mm-hmm.
And have they? So don't let them preach nice to you about, oh, we're going to take care of you this term.
Mm-hmm.
You had over a decade, bro.
Listen, I forgot who said it, so sorry, but the quote goes, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yes. And we've had
Believe
decades
them.
of that.
Actions show what a person is and what they're about.
Yes.
And lack of action.
And lack of act. No, you are correct.
That part too.
That is just as powerful as the action itself.
Mm-hmm.
What they chose to step away from.
Right.
And not put themselves in a line. What you see happening a lot of the times is it may be the right thing to do.
Right.
But it's not the politically responsible thing to do.
For their political career.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And when people choose themselves over the country, they no longer need to be elected. Simple as that. You are elected by the people for the people. And if you can't
All right,
do
podcast over. Not kidding.
right? But if you
Facts, though.
But it is. But if you can't do there may not be a guideline for how that job operates, but the fundamental understanding is you did not get there by yourself. And the minute you start failing to do that, yes, we can give you a bly, but only once or twice, not 40 years of blies. Straight up, not 40 years of blies.
Well, you know me, my favorite two words are development plan.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to keep talking about this until the cows come home,
Mm-hmm.
because ultimately this is why we are in this situation.
Yes.
This whole, we just navigating off of what we think is best and just outing fires.
Mm-hmm. Ad hoc development.
Right. We cannot be building our empire if we're so busy outing fires.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we just can't do it. So how do we actually build our country up for the next generations? We have to start planning. We have to start acting to get things done.
But we have a development plan. Already, all the hard work's been done, but just...
Draft.
Let's
be clear.
Everything is in draft. That's the thing. Everything is in draft.
Word document. It's not in a PDF.
Well, I like pictures, pictures help me visualize what's going on. So maybe they need to update that and get off of Windows 97.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because we've updated Windows a couple times now.
Yeah, we have.
So,
but we have the draft of a development plan that's been sitting on the shelves collecting dust and rotting.
Yep.
Right? I don't see...
At that point, it's old now too.
It's old, exactly.
So,
but what I can tell you is that even though Cayman, and I have this analogy for how we as a country progress, right? And you see it a lot with the special interest, and a lot of it's because of the special interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The game Angry Birds is a very good example of this, but we're not going to use that. I know, trust me.
No, we have to talk about that. What is that?
What, Angry Birds?
Yeah, what is the what
analogy.
are we going to say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look at the game, right, you watch when you pull the bird back and it launches them at the catapult. What do? They crash into the building to destroy whatever they're destroying. Long before this game came out, I had this analogy. Cayman, we are so reactionary that we spend all of our time backing away from the problem, not realizing that we're in the catapult itself. So instead of putting mats out or cushioning to cushion our fall, we crash into it, and this is where all of the holes are. Because now, much like how we got off the gray and the blacklist, we were forced into that position. So we had to work double and overtime to fix as much things as we could fix to give them what they needed so that we can continue doing business on a global scale.
Yeah.
If we had successive governments with succession planning, doing these things, knowing Cayman is only a cog in the international wheel.
Yeah, absolutely.
We should just be happy and grateful, and to an extent, grateful, that's a very loose word there. because we did all the hard work to get there.
Mm-hmm.
But we are the 5th largest financial institution in the world, and that's
Yeah.
something to be proud of for a country.
Yeah. For a country this small.
Exactly. You got to zoom in 3 or 4
We
times
doing
to
it.
see us. We are doing it well.
Yeah.
We are doing it well.
Yeah.
Every other Caribbean island looks to us for what we're doing next.
Yeah.
We are leaders in our region. And it's about time we start accepting that and actually taking that example and leading by that instead of this foolishness, this banana republic style politics that we play. But my point with the example is that we put everything else in a reactionary format that we can never prepare for the future. And if you can't prepare for the future, you're going to fail constantly. We've seen that over 40 years. All right?
Yep.
This is
facts.
These are examples of why we've reached where we've reached now. We have, what is it? Failing to plan is planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all that we've done. Right? Because it's much easier to let it go by, collect some money on the side, and just call it a day. In whatever form you collect that money, it doesn't have to be straight bribery. There's many ways of getting.
There's many ways of garnering favor.
Yes,
and garnering.
A lot of them have learned that skill
interest,
set. More than learning the skill set of how to service their people.
Oy.
So this is where we're at now.
We just dropping bars in here.
This may be my first time running, but this is not my first time in this game.
Oh. Period. You said that with your whole chest. I love it.
It's true though, but there might be a little bit of West Bay coming out still.
I mean, well, you know, I'm the same way. So
yeah. West Bay has made.
We can tell it to you straight.
No, we are. We are. We can't do anything but. West Bay has made a lot of leaders.
Yeah.
Straight up. If you look at every government, where does it come down to? The 4 that are elected in West Bay. And I'm not saying that facetiously. I'm just saying that we kind of got things rolling, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I love the other districts too.
No, I love them all too.
I've got to give my props.
You think I don't love me on North Side and East End or what?
Yes, obviously we all are one Cayman Islands.
We are.
I think we do get a little bit sidetracked in the whole district thing and whatever, and who come from who and who mamas for who and whatever. But ultimately, we are all trying to do what's right for our country.
Yes.
And I guess the thing is that the word best can mean different things to different groups of people. And so what we need to do is have a consensus of what the best really means.
You know how you get there? You consult your people.
Yeah. And create a plan.
Yes, exactly. And update your 9-7 development plan. Some mukbang now, right? For politics, a political mukbang. I love it. Anyway.
Oh, Lord. But yes, so one of the questions I actually got from one of my friends as I was saying, you know, hey, I'm going to be doing this sit down with Jordan. What do you want to talk about? What do you want us to actually speak on? And one of the big things was the public transport situation and our roads. Obviously, there's a lot to unpack there. It's a multi-layered issue, but I think especially during the holidays with all of the like fatalities and stuff and just seeing like how dangerous our roads can be and seeing like the sort of lack of infrastructure public transport wise for our people who might want to catch a bus after being out drinking, but can't catch a bus or can't get a cab, so they end up driving.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a dangerous thing. So what are your views on that? How do you see that actually playing out in the future? And what would you like to see happen there?
So one, we definitely need a public transportation system, a comprehensive one at that too, okay? Not what we have now. It's just vehicles chasing tail constantly, right? What I have seen happen is that, and we're not going to call names here, we'll just call it for what it is. The Department of Transportation has actually changed ministers over time. There was a report done by Deloitte. I've unfortunately been unable to read the whole report. I have a very busy life, but I have seen parts of it, and it's starting to make sense. A lot of what Deloitte did, the work that they did, made sense. My brother, being a disabled person, and he's a part of Inclusion Caymans, so shout out to them for that, right? They came to them to say, how do we make this more accessible for persons with disabilities, right? Great concept. But once again, like everything else, the draft gets shelved, right? Or it changes ministers and ministries and does it does the political dance.
And then it gets deprioritized, and then it's like, okay.
Into oblivion. We got to stop doing this catapult maneuver where we're backing away, because that's the next thing to collapse. Everything that happens is your society goes down a notch, right? We have this facade that we're leading and doing all these great things. And in a lot of cases we are, but our insides are rotten. And that's actually where it's going to start to show when you see the paint falling off the inside of your house, right? When it comes to the public transportation system, it needs to be accessible at all times, 24/7, 7 days a week. You can actually employ a lot of Caymanians at a very good government salary to
True.
do that.
Absolutely.
You would actually get a lot of them off of their butts to do that kind of stuff. And you can't say we don't have the resources or it's too much. Get off of that, man. I will say, though, we shouldn't go full electric with that. We live in the Caribbean, a lot of salt. One of the things that those batteries hate the most is salt here. So even though we are having this current war about renewable and sustainable energy versus petroleum or diesel, right? A lot of those vehicles function off of diesel, and diesel does not destroy the environment. That's a whole other conversation in and of itself, but it's not as bad as it's been made out to think. It's not a boogeyman in that regard. What you will find is if you wanted to create a new industry, go with battery powered vehicles. I don't think that they could handle the amount of hauling that they're doing at that point. That's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have people that even service those things around here.
Yeah.
Think about the Teslas and whatnot. What do you do with them?
Well, that's the thing. We could be upskilling Caymanians and bringing them back here to run that kind of stuff.
But are we going to do it currently? This is the thing. How much money are you willing to invest to waste?
That part.
Yeah. But that's where we're at. But I do think it is extremely necessary.
Yeah.
I think that public transportation should be accessible to everyone, especially persons with disabilities. That needs to be in the fundamental foundation of how it's done.
Yeah.
And they have been doing that. I was actually a bit upset with my brother, and I'm going to call him out on this a little bit. My brother sat on that report for 2 weeks. And my brother's not very politically inclined like I am. He pays attention, but he doesn't do a whole lot in the space. And I said to him, Brandon, you were sitting on this thing for 2 weeks, and you know that you live in a politically oriented family, and you didn't give that report for anybody else to read. Like, come on, man! If you know this is a team effort.
Yeah.
So when I finally I started to go through it, and it made a lot of sense as to if they're gonna do something about it. You're not gonna see it in this administration. We're less than 6 months out from a general election.
No, not now. But I mean, going forward,
it is necessary.
Yeah.
It is necessary. Government, unfortunately, much like a drug user, and we see them in West Bay constantly, they have this addiction to fast cash, right?
Sure.
This is why it's hard. We have been running the same business model for 40, 50 years at this point in time now with no diversification. The rest of the world is moving forward and advancing and doing new innovative things. What is Cayman still doing? Collecting revenues for licenses, collecting car fees, tire disposal fees, small, quick things. You're not going to see that. That can only go so far. You cannot, if you don't even have the infrastructure to handle 100,000 people that is consistently here. We're not talking fly-by-nights or week-long stays or cruise ship tours. We're talking people that reside in your country. We can't even establish a carrying capacity to see what we need and how we need it. We're not even focusing the assets we have now. But you still want to make your money off the same things. Your country's going to burn, man. It's going to burn.
Yeah, we have to diversify how we make money as a country and do it in a way that's actually sustainable.
Yes,
because
correct.
Some of the revenue streams now, obviously it is important to have money.
Yes.
You have to have money to do things and create programs. Completely understand that, 100%. But at what cost? You know what I mean?
Usually it's the cost of our people now.
Well, I'm going home. I'm so it's so easy to just feel defeated. Especially as a young Caymanian, it's so easy to just be like, yo, like, what's the point, bro? Like, is anything really gonna change? But ultimately, you have to decide, all right, enough is enough. Like, you have to, at some point, it's either that you're gonna do something about it or just stop complaining.
Yeah.
That's how I personally feel.
So, and you know this because I called you after I watched it, right? One of the things that I thought was so interesting about it, and I was very happy that you guys did that podcast. That actually is that was the catalyst that led to this.
Love it.
What I saw there was very strong women doing their thing, number one.
Ooh.
Right? But you come from a family that deals with that, and I'm going to say this for the majority of West Bay families. I may have gone to school with Leanne, but I don't know how her family handles that stuff. I can only talk for West Bay politics because West Bay politics is not the country's politics.
Right.
We're the republic for a reason, right? We do our own thing. It's what I saw was fire for engagement. People that were fired up to do that. And it reminded me when I was like 17, 18. And that's when I felt like I was at my peak then. Like, I'm calling into the radio show and going at it with politicians. And,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, that's what I saw. But what happens is, right, when you get that yearning for knowledge and you want to have that involvement and you run full-fledged with that, you tend to get a little bit burned sometimes off of it, right? The older you get, the harder it is to do. Like I said, I've been very fortunate that I've got to go through a lot of this. Is no discredit to you guys at all. Like, I saw a lot of what I've gone through with that, and I realized that yes, my generation is finally catching up to what it is. I'm not putting a pop on my own collar for this at all. It's just that this is all what I've observed over the years, that my bracket was just not politically engaged when they should have been. At the very least, the minute I could get registered, I was registered, you know.
Me too. Me too.
Was no way. So, but that tells me the kind of family you come from. People that choose to be engaged. Our generation is choosing to be unengaged or disengaged, right? That's a problem. Because at the end of the day, whatever decisions politicians make, you're going to inherit the bill for that. And if you don't get yourself registered to vote, you will not have a say. Don't complain about the debt that you pick up. Right? When you're not taking the simplest thing is to registering yourself to hold them accountable and to hold yourself accountable. This is where we're at. This is why they're saying that the average for voters here is 55 years old. I'm almost 30. I've been registered for what?
2 cycles?
Yeah, 2 cycles.
Yeah.
Right?
Me too.
So the point being is like, what are we doing? Right? I don't get to sit around every day and cry about why I don't have money. I got to go get it, right? Why do you not think the same thing that if your country is going down the toilet and you can do something about that, what's the point of you sitting there complaining about it? I don't have sympathy for that stuff. I have less sympathy for the people in my bracket. And it's not because I come from a decent family or anything. I can tell you my parents had to choose between feeding us and keeping the lights on. People go through that.
Yeah.
They worked hard, busted their asses, and made something. It wasn't always roses and peaches and sunshine. To this day, it's not, right? Because life moves on. But the thing is like, I look at it this way. If I don't have the luxury of doing that, and I consider myself a lazy person sometimes, right? If I don't have the luxury of sitting there and doing that, why should they? You are carrying the same burden I'm carrying. And the older you get, the worse it gets. People, I can tell you, a lot of our bracket, they'll look at NAU in disgust. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. The point being is that if you don't want to end up there, start small. This is a small thing, registering yourself to vote.
Yeah.
Be a part of creating the solution. Get yourself involved. Get yourself engaged. And just do what you got to do. We're a society, not an individual doing individualistic things.
Yeah.
This is a collective.
Well, that's the thing too, because we started to dip into that at the end of the episode with Liani and I. The individualistic approach is very American. And so I feel like that's kind of rubbing off on us and how we view things.
They're our biggest client.
Yeah. And so especially like what we're fed media wise, social media, all that kind of stuff, right? It's very much like self-preservation. I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family first. But the way that a society actually makes valuable change is to include everybody.
Yes.
The whole village raising a child thing.
That's how we used to
If you want to call the child the country, the whole village has to raise the country. So we have to kind of get out of the whole, oh, well, my things matter the most. And yeah, they do. You have to take care of yourself, but we have to think bigger. We're thinking too small now. Yeah.
Right. And I'll give persons this credit. I understand the struggles of having a child, making sure that they're taken care of, making sure that they're good to go. It's very overwhelming a lot of the times. I don't have kids, but all I've ever done was raise things my whole life, you know? So I understand the need for this. There's many days I feel very overwhelmed with what I have going on because I'm juggling so many things. So I get it. But at the end of the day, if you are working a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 9 or whatever, because I work on godly hours sometimes, you're not skipping that day going to the gym means that you've skipped that day going to the gym. You failed yourself personally, right? Because the work's gonna get done tomorrow because that's paying you, right? So that's giving you something, but you're cutting yourself of good health to service a need for something. Everything requires sacrifice, right? And like I said, even though it may be overwhelming sometimes, we have to start making that conscious effort to say, all right, no matter how hard I work, if my country no longer exists, then my child has nothing. So you still lost. Yeah. You still lost. The minute we get to that conclusion, understanding, you'll start to have an awakening in your society.
I mean, true. I believe you because that's how I feel as well. But one of the things we actually brought up again in the previous episode with Liani and I was...
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to talk to you about how cool World Talk is. But what's even cooler is Smith Road Publishing, the producer and distributor of this show, as well as many other shows, such as the Linkup Podcast and So You're 30 and Now What? Now, here is a clip from the most recent episode of the Linkup Podcast.
Because you said the numbers game, right? So you're probably thinking, okay, we were even. I may have done a bit, I felt that edged out right there.
Yeah, I think my question definitely helped edge me out just because I knew I didn't ramble. I knew I answered the question and I gave a solution.
Yes.
A lot of times in pageantry, you can answer a question, you can give an opinion. But
what was that, Miss North Carolina?
Yeah, you see the videos on YouTube.
Have you seen that? Miss North Carolina answered the question.
What did she say? What is the question again? Where she just completely slaughters it.
Yeah, she rambles on about. I mean, she must have been nervous. She was on a different planet.
You just have to keep it short, sweet, and simple.
Yeah.
3 to 4 sentences, and you can answer a question. You answer the question. You give like 1 or 2 sentences to support, and then you close it off with like either an inspiring quote, motivation, call to action, or solution.
Dang, you got it to a science.
That's how you have to play the game.
So something like 4% of Caymanians age 18 to 24 are registered. 4%. That's wild. Why do you think that is? Like, what specifically do you think it is that is causing this?
So even though 18 to 24 is the bracket, there's a lot of development that goes on between 18 to 24. I was not the same person from 18 to 20, right? As I became American legal, my mindset started to shift because I started to accept the responsibilities and accountabilities of, you can do anything in the world now. That weighs heavy on some people, right? I can't compare myself to everybody, but I would like to assume that people, as they mature and get older, they start to see things the same way, right? We'll go from 20 down. They don't care. A lot of them don't care. They're busy in school. They said, all right, I spent 18 years doing this. And I can tell you because I was like that, but I was raised in a political household, so it came a little bit different for me, right?
Yeah.
They're thinking about going off to college, focusing on that. It's not something in the back of their mind saying, I should probably go get registered to go do that. It's just simply not. They're not at the stage in their life where they think that they need to participate in that. It's not until they go to school, come back a couple of times and realize, oh God, it's worse than when I left.
Yeah.
Then that reality sets in.
That's so real because I feel like that's what happened to me, low-key.
Yeah,
I mean, I obviously came from a political background as well, and I understood the power of voting and being involved in the community from a young age. But when I was away, I was actually in school from 2016 to 2018. So I would have been around, very early 20s at that point, right? And I'm like, okay, this is my first election coming back home.
It's exciting though, isn't it?
It is. And I'm like, okay, I get to vote. I get to be a part of it. But I'll tell you, I wasn't really too happy with my choices the first time either. And that's another thing too. It's like, okay, yes, I'm going to vote. I'm going to do my civic duty. But ultimately I was like, I don't really feel happy with who my choices were either. So that's another layer to the problem. It's like, all right, we don't care. But those who might end up caring, they're like, I ain't really feeling these candidates either. So then you end up having a low turnout as well.
That is not exclusive to the younger bracket.
No,
that
not
happens across.
But it is just to focus on them at this point because we're really trying to get people to understand the power of their vote and what their vote means. Yeah. If you think about your vote as your currency, right? Yeah. If I want to trade things, you have to have currency. You have to want to barter things, right? My vote is my currency.
Mm-hmm.
So how do I want to spend my currency? Who do I want to spend it on?
Yeah.
And that's why you have to have candidates who are engaged with their community, getting active in the community to actually speak to these young people and say, look, I want your vote. Here's why you should vote for me, because X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
I agree. And I love the analogy of currency for that, because everyone can understand how money works, right? What we have done as a country to our younger persons is a complete injustice and disservice. We don't have civics in school, right?
Yes.
An educated society, an informed society is a strong society. Same thing with an educated society. If they know what's going on, you've put the power in their hands to understand. The issue is that politics gets mixed up and it muddies that water. So what do you do? And you see this globally. Civics are not a commonplace anymore, because you realize, well, my dad used to say this for years, man. Keep them dumb and under the thumb. Well,
that's the thing, because I actually had a conversation with somebody on Instagram. They saw one of the things that I posted about, you know, getting registered to vote and actually engaging in the political process, right? And one of the things is our youth don't understand how our political system works.
Correct.
And why it really does matter for you to vote, like what it is that means, how that impacts your laws, your different segments of government, how laws get passed, and how the civil service functions under government and all that kind of stuff. So
they teach us that in school. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, and part of the conspiracy theory is, if we're gonna go down a little rabbit hole, 1 second, like you were saying, right? It's like when you have people who are uninformed, it's easier to get away with a whole bunch of stuff because they don't even know that they have power.
Yeah.
If you don't understand that you have power in your vote, it's so easy to just keep things the way they are and just keep ignorance is bliss in that regard for those who are in power. One
of my favorite things going through the process that I'm going through here now is learning the Constitution properly.
Yep.
Right? I don't have a legal mind in the sense that I have studied it, but you can understand what words mean.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't, dictionary, very easy, right? But I had Dr. Steve McField show us how this actually works, and when I tell you, that man is a literal just library of information. I've never seen someone be able to take something from the Constitution and say, oh yeah, back in the day, this is why this happened. And a lot of times he was a part of what was there. Like, I understand where the jokes come from about, I was there, right? He's a character, man. I love him, right? But he knows so much, and you understand the importance of things like this when you're talking and dealing with those kinds of persons, because one, they've either lived it, they understand it to an extent that it's second nature, and they have the ability to pass it on to you. Our people are just not informed enough as to what's happening. And this is another shortcoming of how we handle our system. It's an educational thing. It's an educational gap.
Yeah. And a more educated society will only benefit society when you have people who understand how they can contribute, how everything functions, what really has to go on for a society to actually thrive.
Yes.
We can get there. We definitely can, because Caymanians are some of the smartest people on this planet, and that's on period. Like, we have a ton of people.
NASA Hall of Famers coming from here, man.
Like, we have a ton of people going away and getting their degrees and getting educated, and they want to come and they want to contribute, and nothing. No opportunities.
They're shunned. Their intelligence is shunned.
They come back and they're ready to get going, and they're excited to lead the charge and start all these new sectors of business that we don't currently have. There's things that we are getting Caymanians trained for, but they can't come home to have a job to. There's
the country's not for them any longer.
Right. So then they end up moving to other places to be able to have a career, because those countries have those infrastructures in place
to accept their intelligence.
So,
I mean, I want to touch back on
big old circle.
What we were talking about a little bit earlier with what really inspired me to come on here. And it was just to kind of give a little bit more deeper insight to how everything plays out. What you just said is a part of that. I'll give you the rough process that I've gone through in my life, and it's only because I've gone through it I can reflect on it now and see it. You start off wanting to get engaged but not knowing how to be engaged or who to talk to. Then you finally crawl your way through that process. You involve yourself on a community level or a board level or some sort of non-profit. That helps a lot. You don't have to necessarily do it that way, but it helps a lot. Right? Just being involved in general, going to any kind of community thing helps you because you start to meet people who have been in that field, and there the succession planning starts, right? Then you start to realize, wow, I'm learning a lot. This is going great. Then you realize, wow, you know, if I keep at this, I might be able to go run for public office too, right? And that might become a catalyst now, right? So as you continue getting information and learning and progressing, you start to hit this roadblock because the fire inside you is burning the hottest it's ever burned, right? And you're young and you got passion and you want to do it. You just don't know how you're going to do it. And as you start to navigate the tricky world of politics, at the very least, start to navigate them, that fire kind of dampens out a little bit because you realize, wow, there's a lot of things I don't like that are going on here right now, right? And that's about 6 years ago, is when it started. I think I went through that for almost 3 or 4 years, where it's, you don't let your fire burn as hot as it is because it tends to shun people away, right? And you just kind of sit there and let it cool out. But what happens is, because you've learned to more so tame that fire, you feel like you've almost lost your bravado or your lionship in a sense. You don't roar as loud. Nothing really wrong with that. It's getting back to the stage where you've built that up, where it's like, now I can be the lion and I'm armed with the information.
Right.
And that makes you fully equipped. That's kind of where I'm getting to the point here now, is that I've had all the information. I've gone through my timid stage. I've learned everything I need to go. And I'm still quick with it, man. I'm a fast 6-shooter when it comes to politics, man. Like I can challenge some of them very easily. But that comes with knowing when and where you learn the discipline. It's like, say you learn trigger discipline, right?
Yeah.
I'm not shooting at everything anymore. I'm waiting for you. I'll let you hang yourself. Trust me. You can lie to me all you want all day, and I gotta argue with you when I come back with the noose.
Yeah.
Right? And that's where our people need to get to. It doesn't mean you got to be a politician or an aspiring candidate. It doesn't mean that at all. But an informed society is a strong society. Everyone should want to be thinking to that level. I don't think of myself as someone that is at the top of my age bracket. Hell, I think of myself as someone that's on the lowest part. Like, this is a bare minimum to move forward with this. And if you're not sitting here, they're going to leave you. Yeah. Right? We've seen in our country, and I'm going to divert here for a second. We have seen in our country, my father and I have had very many talks over this, or a lot, honestly, a lot. And we've always agreed that we understood that the unskilled Caymanian class was long discarded. They just haven't realized it yet, right? But what happens when the slightly educated class starts to feel the brunt of what's happening now, or the successful Caymanian class, right? If we're talking about Cayman as a ship, the ship done left persons like myself that work in tourism, are blue-collar persons, right? The white-collar people are next, and we're starting to see that now, where it's not starting to, it's been happening, where all the educated Caymans are coming back with no jobs waiting for them. Yeah. And they're trying to figure it out. And not every single one of them have the ability to go to England or have a dual citizenship to go to the States or Canada. They're stuck here. So they got to take less than what they're worth just to make a living. But what happens to the qualified Caymans, the ones that have been in the financial service industry, the ones that have succeeded in life, we're starting to see them get the rug pulled from under them. And that's the last barrier. Once they're gone now, and I can tell you this from personal experience, I know people that were sitting at the top of what they do because they were qualified, capable, competent, and damn good at their job. Get told, well, your job's been made redundant. And it's not because the job or the position's gone. We don't need Caymans sitting up here no more. Yeah. Because our company may be stationed here, this may be our headquarters. We're international. I can make Hong Kong my HQ tomorrow. So you're just a cog we no longer need. And that's what you're starting to see happen now, is that every layer of Caymanian society, and this is not just generational, this is people that come here. Yeah. You talk to persons that receive their status and they go to you, holy shit, I did not understand your struggle until I got my papers. Hi, welcome. You know? Yeah.
Welcome to the fold.
Right? It's
Here's
not
the
nice
struggle.
out here.
No.
Being a Caymanian is more of a negative to you now than being an expat.
Can you imagine? In our own country.
We're third-rate citizens.
What are we doing, guys?
But here's the kicker. Here's the kicker, right? No, to everyone in this room and on the camera, because they're going to see this. Here's the kicker. We can't blame nobody else but ourselves.
Facts.
Because only Caymanians can get elected to office. So that tells you where their loyalties are at. And it's not a matter of, oh, that was them or that was that one.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because that's when the scapegoating happens. Oh, it's because immigration, or oh, it's because of public money spending, or oh, it's because of tourism or whatever. Like they'll create these excuses of things that are the causes of the issues but who caused the issue?
Ourselves.
Oh, okay then.
Right? Because look at,
So
if you're a first generation American in the States, right? And I'm not talking papered, I mean born now. Your parents are immigrants. You can run for government over there. Can't do that in Cayman.
No.
At all.
No,
you will be on the next boat out of here. Don't poke your head up too high, right? And that's not spitting at them. That's saying we've got that structure in place. So if we have that kind of protection for political office, clearly it's a game, and the game just not for you, right? But you can do everything else around here.
Yeah.
You just can't come and upset us. What makes your strong government is when you have persons that are saying no, back like what we used to have, right? We don't got them no more. We got jelly back politicians, spineless. I can tell you straight up, when they hear this, because they will hear this, they'll be like, well, what he talking about us so bad for? I tell you one thing, if the shoe fit, wear it. Remember that. Because I didn't call no names, but if you feel some type of way, I might be talking about you.
As it would be on Maru, kaboom.
Kaboom. But this is the case. This is the case. We need to get back to where money can't buy favor no more.
Yeah.
Right? Look here. Having morals is one thing, right? Having a spine is a whole other. Usually they go hand in hand, right? The minute you lose that spine, you got to be afraid to crack. You have to be unafraid to crack a few eggs and step on a few toes.
Yeah.
Especially when they want to come into your country to invest. We are the
ones that have the cards here. This is our country. People
our
want
guard
to come
is too
here.
old now. That's what's
People
happened.
want to come here and invest. People want to come here and live. People want to come and be a part of the Caymanian dream, if you want to call it that. Whatever that is. And I don't know what it is anymore, but whatever you want to call it.
The dream not for everybody. We're too small for it.
True.
But I can tell you one thing. If we want to even have a chance of having other persons indulge in the dream and be a part of it, we have to make sure that the persons here are already in it.
Yeah.
Right? And what's happening is, and then they'll tell you, well, a dream only happens when you're asleep, so it's time to wake up. We having nightmares. For 40 years, we've been having nightmares, and it's just gotten worse and worse. It's a dream that don't stop.
Yeah.
Right?
What they say, Cayman, not a real place?
It's not a real place. It's not a real place. Look at any military in the world, if you want to even talk about guard for protecting your country. Look at any other military in the world. Their prime combat age is 24 to 35, maybe 40 in certain cases, and usually special forces because they got experience, right? You're not seeing 60 and 70 running the show.
Hello?
They got to walk with canes. You understand?
And we're not being ageist, but we're just being real.
No, exactly.
Right?
We're not being, you're right about that.
Because we're not disrespecting those who came before us, but at a certain point, it has to be that we have succession planned well enough that you can say, okay, my turn is over. I've had my run, and now I'm handing over the reins to X person because I've mentored them, I've trained them.
You feel comfortable showing them, and I'm not using that term in the physical sense of who we got in there. Now, what I'm saying is because in general, you can derive so much information and knowledge and wisdom. What we don't have in this room here is wisdom because we have not lived long enough to see a lot of it. We may have a certain level of it, but we don't have what my grandmother has.
Right.
My great grandmother
because we wouldn't have her perspective because we haven't lived that life.
And they've lived an entirely different life.
Yeah.
What you have to find is that balance between what they have gone through and experienced and what we're currently going through. And a lot of the times, because they've lived through those problems that we're now born into, they can show you how it started. Now we're back to where information is power, because once we know where the crux of the problem starts, now we as persons that are born in that cycle of the problem can fix it.
Yeah.
Because we're not bound by the same weights that they had to back then.
Yeah.
Right?
So just shifting gears a little bit. You're running against two politicians. Obviously, there's one incumbent coming in as Mr. Bernie Bush, and then my uncle, former representative for West Bay, is also running for West Bay North. So those are two confirmed sort of candidates that you'd be running against. So how do you feel you would differentiate yourself against them? And what do you bring to the table that they might not?
We actually covered a lot of that previously.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll go with it. What I can say is, right, they have had their time and they've had their ups and downs as everyone else has done, right? What you have seen is that, and I can put it this way. One, you don't, and we're going to talk West Bay for a second here. People are not very pleased with what's currently happening in our country, right? And this is a West Bay thing. I'm going to bring it close on.
We'll stick it to West Bay for now.
No one's happy with the lack of what's happened. Okay, the last election in West Bay confirmed that. I'm not trying to throw shots here. We're just talking what historically has happened here for a second. Okay, they're not happy with what they currently have. They were not happy necessarily with what they previously had. This is where the change took place. This is a repeat of 2021. Is what we're unfortunately happening here. And nothing against them. I'm very good with both of them. But it is time for us to advance and move forward. I'm here to represent the next generation of leaders in this country, and I'm going to do my damn best to do that, right? Because I am accountable to not only my people and the country, but to my set, because we don't have anyone that's from there, all right? We cannot expect the persons that come from the time of the creation of those problems to have the solutions for those problems now. Modern problems require modern solutions, and I'm here to try and be, to the best of my ability, that modern solution. I bring youth experience in this field, both in tourism, business-wise, and in politics, right? And obviously this sounds like a selling point, but it's not. It's just this is a sport now. In that capacity, we're going to combat. And we're not happy with what we've had for the past 20, 30, 40 years. I'm here to try and put a stop to that. And we'll touch into what we were talking about earlier. The group I have aligned myself with, and you can go check it, it's publicly registered, but I'm not going to take that thunder away from them for a proper launch. I've aligned myself with Dan Scott and his party. And when I tell you, at the very core of that, we have a team. Contrary to what you're hearing in the political field and spectrum and whatever not, we got a solid team. And everyone there has the same core values. And we are there to work as a team for the people. All politics aside, no one in that room got baggage like what you see baggage around here. We're there to do the people's business. And that is at, let's say it this way, that is at the cost of ourselves.
Yeah.
Not in a selfish capacity, but we know what we're signing up for, and we're not a part of what's happening here now. And I'm going to do my part to ensure that this country moves forward for not only who is currently here, our generation and the next generation, but we want to create a society where anyone that comes here is happy to be a part of this and wants to, in a respectable manner.
Yeah.
So hopefully I could answer that question.
You did, and you actually answered a few other questions as well. Other follow-along questions that I would have had in terms of, what are your thoughts on party versus independent, and what do you think?
I can still answer that.
Yeah.
We want to hop into that one?
Yeah, sure. All
right. So this was a big step for me. Being a person that was raised in a very independent household. You can look somewhere back on Crosstalk with Woody DaCosta, and you can see how I feel about parties from back then. I know Philipp remembers because Philipp was around back then. I look at him smiling in that corner. That's when Philipp was bringing UBI. I remember that. I kind of agree with you still, but that's a whole different conversation. I'm not for them. I was never bred to be for them.
For what?
For parties in that capacity.
Okay.
Through my growing politically and maturing in that field, I had to start weighing the odds. And the issue back then why I was not for them is because of the representation of parties we had in this country was not the correct representation of what parties are for.
Right.
They all start off with good intentions until they get corrupted. Now it's just a bunch of businessmen and businesswomen for pocket, not for people.
Yeah.
Right? What we have here is persons, and I'm not gonna give all the answers in this, but I'll give it to them to look up. Look up the Nolan principles. And then when you all look that up, you'll understand what it's for and what we abide by. That tells you all you need to know. What we're bringing here is what a party for the people is supposed to be for. This is not, okay. Anyone that knows Dan Scott knows that is one of the few Caymans that is both cash flow and asset flow. It's fine. You can't buy those kind of people. Wayne Panton is the same kind of guy.
Yeah.
We tend to want to go for those persons because, well, at least they're not corruptible. Funny how things work sometimes, right? My point being is that when you have a strong moral person, there's never not been a good thing that I have not heard about this man long before I met him. Long before. Hell, I was about to do this show by myself in terms of running the gamut. I had no intention of joining with him, even though I know that the past 4 years we saw the chaos.
The complete breakdown of our government system.
Never before in our country have we had that until we got
versions of government in 4 years.
But the thing is, let's not put the entire blame on the independents, because that movement, and I can tell you because it's very close to home thing for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
With a lot of things, it was started for the right reasons. The same way that one man, one vote was done for the right things. Our system, our political system, has a very good way of corrupting that because of our unfortunately uninformed populace when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's very easy to move things around when you don't know where to look for where it's being moved to next. So the one man, one vote got corrupted, as when it was supposed to be done for accountability for each individual candidate or representative, ruined now. What you've seen now with the party system, that has been I don't even want to say a slow degrade, because 20 years is not a long time in the span of life. Very, very fast degrade of our system when it comes to how politics is. If we want to talk education for how our system works, we don't subscribe to, I don't even know what you would call the U.S. political system, to be honest with you. It's Republican versus Democrat, right? Whatever you would call that, bipartisan system. Cayman politics is based around the Westminster system, which by definition of how they operate is a very combative system. Yeah. And it's opposition for opposition's sake a lot of the times. At least they got something right in the bipartisan system. It was a natural counter to the other one with policy. Ours is blood sport. Just straight, unequivocal blood sport. You take that and you mix it with garrison politics influence from Jamaica, you have what is Cayman politics today. Blood sport of the worst kind.
I feel like we need to have an educational session about the different political systems around the world and how our system was sort of the brainchild of all these different bits and pieces.
Cayman's very good at doing that.
Oh yeah. Very One thing we gotta do is pick and choose. Pick, choose, and refuse the different things that we like and what we don't like. But ultimately, we can decide what we want to do. Legislators can legislate for the better of the country.
And that touches in us deciding what we want to do and where we want to go. Extends to a lot of things. Cayman is in the beautiful position to where, for a country that is the size that it is, it has the capital to back it. So we don't need to always go through the hard process. The wheel can only be reinvented so many times. Yeah. We've seen 15 different iterations of the wheel. Pick and choose the best pieces and plug and play. As long as the legislation is correct, seamless flow. Where money matters, we have the capital to do those kind of things. Yeah. We just don't have the political will to do those because the system is comfortable, it's familiar. It's like a broom that's been sweeping the house for the past 10 years. Got a certain flex to it. But I tell you one thing, nothing cleans dirt better than a new broom.
We just here dropping bars, yo. Like, these sound bites gonna go off.
Love it.
Okay, so my next question is just talking about what you've seen, what you've witnessed, what it is that you're running. What ministerial role would you love to have should you be given the opportunity to do so?
None.
Oh.
I'm not in it for power. I may be new as a candidate, but I'm not new to this. And it would be completely negligent of me as a first-timer to go in there and start demanding that you give me XY ministry.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to learn the internal workings of government first. I can handle the outside. I've been raised by some of the best to do that. Not just my father. I'm going to give credit to people like Mervyn Smith as well, and a plethora of other persons in that field that have raised me in this. But I can tell you, inside the house is probably worse than outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to learn that first. If I have to take it, I would like at least 2 years under my belt of just learning before I even consider getting a ministry. The departments I would like to work in as a parliamentary secretary, right, would be tourism, immigration, because we drastically need reform in that, and I love that kind of stuff. The environment and agriculture, right? I'm a farmer at the end of the day. That works in tourism, loves immigration, and tourism is my specialty.
Mm-hmm.
All 4 things that I know I can actually contribute to.
Yeah.
And I'm not uncomfortable with stepping out of my depth every so often, because my entire life has been nothing but that for the most part. But if I'm gonna go do something especially as important as leading a country and being a representative of the people, I'm gonna make sure I do my homework correctly from the start, before I say, all right, give me the bravado and the stripes of saying I can fly around here as a minister. Let them squabble over that. I'm here to do the people's work.
Not a response that I expected, but I'm here for it. I am here for it.
We got to do practical things if we want to go forward. We can't just say, we can't keep following the old cycle of, oh, I get in there, big chest round you. Don't work. It don't work. And you've seen what poking your chest. And I tell you one thing. Because a lot of them in there now, they have a balloon chest, you know. Takes 1 pin to pop it. Not many of them got iron chests. I'm not saying I got an iron chest, but I'm telling you, when the time comes for me to poke my chest out, I'm prepared for it. I'm not putting myself in a situation where I'm cutting myself at the knees for no reason. They may think it's a game when they're in there, and it is a game. I understand how you got to play the game. I get it, right? But the thing is, somewhere along the line, you started doing it more for the game than for the job. I'm here to do it for the job, not the game. Right?
Yeah. And I mean, before we started rolling, we were talking about the people who should be in power, right? The people who should be in power are the ones who don't seek it. So,
you know what kind of stress this is, man? Let's talk real for a second. The kind of stress that this is, and I've been doing this a while. I feel like I've just taken on much more stress than I had before in my life. It's almost like I could dance with it. Now I'm chained to it, right? And this is not saying that I've already succeeded in my endeavor, but I'm very much understanding the commitment level of this. And I've seen it talking with other ministers that we're very close to and other persons of government. They tell you straight up, it's a full-time job. My life's a full-time job, but I'm going to do this because I have that capacity down, right? But what we have seen here, you have seen persons come in, learn all the bad habits, and perpetuate them endlessly. And what they do is they lock their constituents in this cycle, right? Hoping that they can get by with enough favors, enough turkey, enough fruitcake, enough ham.
Not the turkey.
Right? I'll tell you what. Right? And not even the good
stoves.
It's not even the good quality.
You remember
stuff.
the days of the stoves and the AC and stuff in the fridge?
I kind of wish I were old enough for that now. Still, I would like a nice new stove. Still, one of those European ones that do everything for you. You know. But anyway,
the touch screen.
Yeah, let me tell you. But my thing is like, even the quality of the bribery has dropped. They're not even buying you boar's head turkey or ham no more. They're buying you butterball. The processed
Boy,
stuff.
that's how you know things hard. Everybody's struggling.
You understand? But guess what? We got people, we don't call no names, they're getting $35,000 plus a month, right?
Yep. Yeah,
Anyway,
the unspoken elephant in the room. But anyway.
This is the information, you see. People, things that are not in the public's eye, there are people that actually know what's going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
One of the most amazing fruits of my labor from doing this for years was that I sought so much information, and I started to meet so many persons in little pockets all over the island, to the point now where I don't have to go seek the information. I got my hand on the pulse. It comes to me daily. And I said, oh, thank God I'm finally here. I can finally it rolls in. Right? And I know that might be a little bit hard for some other persons that didn't see this to grasp, but that just came from years of putting in the work, of doing that. It's been with intention, right? You can be in it and never get that, but I did it with intention. And now I'm finally getting there. And there could be more. I don't get no high-profile government secrets or nothing like that. That stuff is still under the rug and lock-lipped. But when it comes to where you're getting like data leaks first, oh yeah, I'm getting that regularly. Like it's nice. It actually helps me stay on edge because now I actually have time to sit there and look over it before it breaks, and then I can be like, all right, well now I understand what's going on. So you get like little nice things, but anything you do long enough, if you don't get better at it, you probably got to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Probably got to stop doing it. And I'll just attach that to certain politicians. We'll just leave that there.
We'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Yes.
Anyway, the next question, please.
Yes. So, if you could wave a magic wand right now for positive change in the Cayman Islands, what does that look like for Jordan Rivers?
Positive change in the Cayman Islands. Well, in a very idealistic, wand-waving fashion, a society where Caymans can actually have fruits for their labor and be a part of everything, where we don't have any kind of unemployment. And that is a real wand wave because people just don't want to do better for themselves sometimes. But if we could lower that, and even though you asked me for a wand wave, I'm going to still try and be realistic, right? To where it actually counts, the people that are from here, whether they are generational or papered or first gen, their country gives them the opportunity first.
Yeah.
The cost of living is not exorbitant, right? People can have a house. There's succession planning. There's all logical, doable things.
Yeah.
Just takes political will. That would be my wand wave.
One would think.
Well,
you just got to take care of your people, the job that you were elected to do.
Money never. Remember this, money has never been made off peace.
Oh. Yo, the bars, man. Damn.
It's just truth.
Okay.
Just truth.
I mean, you're not wrong, but it's really like you just have to face the facts of it, right?
We got something hard going on here with that. People don't like facing things.
Yeah.
And it's gotten worse over the years. Like I told you, I don't like facing stuff. No one
Well, that
does.
was my thing too, right? Because before I even got involved in this, my whole thing was, all right, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand and just, whatever happens.
It's easier.
But the problem is they don't know more sand to bury my head in because 7 months is gone. So I like the problem. Like if you don't deal with the problem gonna deal with you. Respectfully. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of the change just has to happen. So I definitely agree with you there in terms of we need to actually provide for our Caymanians now and future. We need to have good housing. We need to have opportunities for education, for jobs, for people to actually grow and thrive and protect our natural environment while also capitalizing on what we have. So there is give and take. And I think that both can go together. Yes, definitely. Agreed. I think we can all agree that you do not have to sacrifice everything, but you can still have the best of both worlds.
You can.
You definitely can.
Cayman actually affords that. More times than not, Cayman affords that. That's what people have lost sight of that. Cayman actually has the ability to do both. You can't go, touch it here. You can't go to Jamaica and have both most times. You can't go to the Eastern Caribbean and have both most times. For whatever reason that may be, it don't usually work out, whether it's their policies, politics, or the investment level in their country. You just got too much drag each way. Cayman has always, and I've said this for years, man, Cayman could be the closest thing to an oasis in the Caribbean because we have the proximity to the United States as a trade partner. We have the financial backing. We have the social and global standing. We have it all. All we got to do is get the dust out of our house, do some spring cleaning that we always used to do, and get things in order. I'll give you another analogy here. Right? If we're thinking of Cayman as the house that it is, right? The house can, at the most, handle 50 people comfortably for a nice party. What we have in the house now is 250, maybe 300 people. Okay? You're sitting on one side of the room. The shotgun in the cabinet is all the way on the next side. So you have to wade yourself through the masses, right? And you're getting pulled and tugged and shirt torn and whatnot. But your focused goal, which is the country planning here now, is to get to that cabinet. Now that you got the shotgun in your hand now, what do? Do you completely obliterate everybody in the room? Or do you fire a shot into the ceiling? It's going to cause a little bit of damage. But guess what? I promise you, that little bit of damage that you created in that small happenstance, right, is going to have positive effects later on, because no one's injured, no one's gone to the hospital, everyone's a little bit shaken up about the change that just took place. Everyone was having a party, drinking, vibing, doing. You don't got hurt nobody.
It definitely gets people's attention, I'll tell you that.
It does, but that's what we need.
Yeah,
we need a little reset.
We need a little gunshot to go off. And not to hit anybody, but just to scare them and be like, okay, guys.
I love how it's even a West Bay analogy.
No, I know. Yeah, sorry.
My point being is that just that rude awakening of the party vibe is done here now allows you to tell people to get out.
Yeah.
And you can now pick and choose who is supposed to be there versus who's not. They can come back later on. It's just that the house is broken up right now. And we need to reset that. We had that kind of shotgun moment during COVID.
Yeah.
Right? The country shut down. I'll tell you one thing too. I'd called into the radio. I think it was with Woody. Called into the radio and I suggested, right, in my inexperienced self, and I'm going to say that jokingly, that if we are shutting the country down, why are we keeping so many persons that are going to be unemployed very soon? Send them all home from now so you don't have to deal with the problem later on. I was met with, what are you talking about? Who's going to do all the jobs the Caymans don't want to do? The Caymanians. Because now they have an opportunity to upskill them and get them in those fields and do that. Yeah. You had 2 years just about of a complete chill vibe. I rode horses and fished for the majority of that because I had no business. It was done, right? It allowed me to see things that I wouldn't normally see in my busy time. And I said to myself, look at this now. Now you got people complaining that they can't catch flights back home, expecting the government to take care of them. A 30-day notice should have been issued for everybody that's a non-essential. So they even started to make fake non-essentials. We prioritize keeping a liquor store open as an essential business. Granted, it helps.
I remember that.
It helps.
You know what?
But the point is like,
that was important. Let's be so for real.
for the sake of our culture, hand on heart, that was important. So I'm not going to knock them for that. But my point is that where you put effort into things, you should have put that same effort into other things. And that's where you fell short. You went for the Band-Aid instead of the suture.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like, like I was saying earlier, we're literally just reacting to things. We're outing fires and putting Band-Aids on things instead of actually saying, pause, let's plan, let's execute, let's build up this country to what it can be. So we're going to start to wrap up.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize we got to that stage already.
I know. We've been
very good conversation.
We've been chatting a long time. Jeez, it's been good. It's been good.
That's like a Friday. I love it.
That's true, you know, holiday. It's just kind of, I'm like, what day is it? What year is it? Is it 1982?
I tell my guests all the time, I don't know what day of the week it is. I just know when it's Friday. That's it.
Fair enough. But yes, so my last sort of question is, where can society find hope?
In its people, in its community. But that requires togetherness. We're very disenfranchised, very separated, very broken right now. A lot of it has to do with the weight of the world globally, because it does affect us locally. But the neighbor next to you is still the same neighbor you had for 15 years. Just because you all are going through some financial hardships, maybe a squabble, you know, you can find the strength and resilience in your own people, because who can you count on besides your people more than yourself, right? Yeah. So hope is here. Hope is here. And we just gotta take a breath every so often. Just look around and see that Cayman really isn't that bad, man. It's not. And I can tell you, before all the chaos and hectic air comes into the next political cycle, because we're very close to it, man, I would predict by like January 15th, maybe 16th, we're going to really start to feel that. Because
it's going to start really coming out.
It starts very early.
Yeah.
Right? So before all that happens, just when you feel like you want to argue with your neighbor, just leave it alone. Deal with it the next day. Talk with the people. Be good with everybody. That's where you can find hope in. And I can tell you from my personal perspective, and this is just my opinion, and this is without putting a shameless plug or anything, people that I'm working with, that where we've reached so far, Try and find some hope in that, is that we are making a genuine attempt, and hopefully it's a very successful attempt, to undo all of the filth and garbage that we've been dealing with for 40 years. And we're going to give it a good shot. We really are going to give it a good shot. And when we get in there day one, we're going to start working for the people from that point onwards, hoping to make a different Cayman, a better Cayman for everyone. And if I'm successul, you have a representative from the 90s. Like, we've changed the guard at that point, right? The game, I don't say the game stops, because that's a bit too much. The game takes a very hard pause. It changes.
Yeah.
Right? But you can't, people always think, oh, well, you can make differences from outside. Yes, you can.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But that takes numbers. And people need to understand that you're stronger together. There's only 19 of them. Right? There's only 19 of them for 86,000 people. And if you want to even break it down more to your voting populace, maybe 50,000. You still 19 to 50,000 of registered play, right? They can only change the field so much. I'm going to leave people with some homework. If they want to understand how things happen, and this is a contentious point for a lot of West Bayers, look at how we lost the road. Right? That boils my blood to this day, because that was the first protest I was ever a part of, because I knew it was wrong. How they managed that deal. We crossed the finish line, had the numbers, had everything. And the government of that day and age. And you can see, and you can look back, as Makiba Bush would say, the Hansards will tell you. You can look back as to who was the government of that day, who were the players, who orchestrated the deals, and who fulfilled things. You look back and see who did all that, you'll understand why things move the way that they do. To add to that, once we crossed the line, they changed it to where they added more voters to the registry. So you no longer had the numbers that would trigger some contest to government. Threw it in the trash, and that was the end of that. And they can challenge me on that too if they want. But that is what happened, and that's how we lost West Bay Road to becoming what it is now. You know, same thing that caused the beach erosion. It is all interlocked. The same players cannot fix the problems that they created, because they are the reason the problems exist. And come 2025, the country really needs to do better for itself, because I'm much afraid there's not much time left. I'm not going to say that's the end of the line, the Mayan calendar. I'm not saying it. The country's still going to go on, but the quality of life is going to diminish. The quality of the Caymanian home is going to diminish. And this is not no prejudice against the expats or the working class here.
Yeah.
But you have to come to understand, you're coming here, I'm not going there.
You're right.
And if we're not secured here, how do you think you're going to be secured when you inevitably get your status? And that's just food for thought for anybody.
Fair play.
If we can't have it good, you're not going to have it much better.
All right. So
thank you.
If you had one thing to say to the viewers, what would you say? Before we leave here today, what is one thing that you need to let people know right now?
Ooh, and I said a lot. Most important thing, and I'm going to talk to my demographic here, get registered to vote. Because, like I said earlier, we're going to inherit the bill. Our kids are going to inherit the bill. Our parents are already old. They already lived their life and done their thing. You're next up on the chopping block. And if you don't have your say in what happens in your country, you're going to get cast by the wayside. Leanne said it very well last time. They will literally tell you that if you're not registered, they're not going to hear nothing from you. It's very true. I understood that from the time I was a kid. That if I don't, my vote is gold. My vote is diamonds. They can't buy it from me. And that's what they hate. You think we get people coming to us to approach us for support? They know they can't come to our house for it, because they know they don't fall on the right side of the line for things. Your vote is everything. Don't sell it for a ham, a turkey, a washing machine. Don't sell it because your grandma said so. You understand? You are your own person. You need to make an informed decision for your future, because they're not securing your future for you. If you want people to secure your future for you, go on NAU, and you're not getting much off of that. So that's what it is. Go out and vote. Get registered.
I love it. I couldn't have said it any better myself. So with that, I guess that is this episode of World Talk.
Damn, I can't look that good if I tried.
My name is Rashana Hydes, and it's been a really wonderful experience sitting here with you and,
been great.
and talking about the future, and there is hope. So
it's a good detox too, man. When you let all that stuff out, it's really good for the soul.
It's just good to chat a little bit, man.
Yeah.
It's like
but no Cayman gossip like how they gossip.
No, it's good.
It's good gossip.
Productive gossip.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, and with that, we're signing out.
That was fun. Thank you, guys.